what are your thoughts on the metaverse as a whole and as an investment? Since one of your companies is investing in it, and it will probably be, or is expecting it to be, a flow of income in the future.
Yeah.
And the second question is about Wix. What do you think about the mention, or that they mentioned that they will stop giving guidance?
Which company, sir?
Wix.
Wix.
That they say they will stop giving guidance because they are thinking at the moment it's very difficult for them to see the evolution, or how is it, what are the trends, while it is a subscription company.
Yeah.
So just these two questions.
Yeah, thank you. And the first question, just remind me.
Yes, what are your thoughts on the metaverse as a whole and as an investment?
Yeah. So let's start with the metaverse, which is obviously, Facebook, which is one of our investments, recently renamed itself to Meta, and the metaverse is a big focus for them. So it reminds me a lot. So one of the in the late 90s, one of the things maybe people don't know is I was a telecoms analyst. Very pleasant period of my life when I was living in Frankfurt, and in the late 90s, there was this incredible boom with mobile phones. Mobile phone penetration went from almost nothing to, effectively, over 100% over time. And then around about the turn of the millennium, there was sort of all of a sudden this talk that, it looked like sort of mobile phone penetration, it was getting close to 100%, so obviously it couldn't really grow any further, but then this new excitement started about the mobile internet. The first 3G, these UMTS licenses were sold, and there was a lot of optimism that people would be using the internet with their phones. And it was a fascinating period because there was a debate at the time whether anybody needed the mobile internet, and closely connected to that debate was what is the app that people are going to use, or is there an app that people are going to use? So, me and everybody else were trying to figure out, what is the app going to be or is it even going to be an app? And fast forward to 20 years today, and it's not like there's one app. There's millions of apps, and there's tens, if not hundreds, of incredibly important ones. So, the sort of the forecast back then was, is there going to even be one? And of course, what it turned out was there were millions. So, which is a long way of saying, I think that's a good way to think about the metaverse. It feels like we're where we were in the late 90s, and we're sort of trying to figure out, is there even a use for this stuff? Is it going to be something? My strong guess is it will be a thing, but it will be a thing in ways which we can't really know about today. But it will be interesting to see how that plays out over time. And did you want me to talk about Facebook as well and their investments in that area, or was it really just related to the metaverse?
What were your thoughts on Meta as an investment? I think
it's
a kind of future investment.
Yeah, so Facebook, or Meta, is an incredibly profitable company. They have about 50 billion of operating income, and included in that 50 billion is about 10 billion of investment of losses effectively into the metaverse. And the background of that is, for all its strength as a company, one of the things Facebook suffers from is that the operating systems are controlled by two other companies, Apple and Google, and for mobile phones. And so I think they don't want to miss out on whatever the next platform is, and so they're going to invest in that. I personally think it's too early to be spending as much money as they are on it. I mean, 10 billion is a lot of money. I mean, if that was revenue, that would be one of the largest companies in the world, and that's just cost. At a time when you don't really know what the metaverse is going to look like, I think it's too much. But on the other hand, Facebook has a value as a company of around 600 billion, and it's run by a great entrepreneur who's very rational. If in 3 or 4 years' time it's nothing, then it will be 40 billion of losses, which will then go away. So a meaningful number, but not really in the context of Facebook. And if it is something big, then fortunately they have invested it at the forefront. So I view it as an option as an investor. If the Facebook valuation was super high and it needed the metaverse to work to make sense of the investment, I would for sure not own the company. But the share price is so unbelievably low, the valuation is so unbelievably cheap, it just doesn't really move the needle in that respect. I mean, it's really incredible. I mean, if you take away the cash on its balance sheet, Meta is close to about a $500 billion dollars market cap. And if you add back the losses that they're making into the metaverse, it's close to 50 billion in net income. So you're paying a 10 times earnings for one of the all-time great companies, and then people talk about tech companies not being attractive because interest rates are going up. Well, that's doesn't make sense to me. But we'll see how it turns out. Yeah, and then on Wix, I mean, I guess it's not necessarily specific to Wix, but I would just say that for those of you who aren't familiar, Wix is a company that regularly provides quite detailed guidance to investors on what they expect for the coming quarter and for the coming year. And there's obviously a degree of uncertainty at the moment, as sort of they benefited a lot from COVID, people staying at home, building websites, and now kind of people are slowly going back into the real world. That's sort of led to a slowdown in their business, obviously a greater degree of uncertainty, as a result of which they've decided not to provide guidance anymore. I'm personally not a fan of guidance. I think there's a lot of companies that get into a lot of trouble by providing guidance. I recently read a book about GE called Lights Out, which was a great read. I can recommend it to everyone. And at the core of GE's problems was effectively this guidance that Jack Welch gave over decades, that they would grow 20% every quarter, and it just led to effectively fraudulent behavior. So I'm not a fan of guidance at all, and if it was up to me, I would advise all of my companies not to provide it. But if you're going to provide guidance, then you can't just stop when when it suits you. So if they decide on an ongoing basis not to provide guidance, then that's fine by me. If they decide they want to continue doing it, and then they should be consequent and continue doing it. So that would be my message to management. But I'm actually going to Israel next week to visit with them, so I'll pass that message on to them. So where's the next one?
Hey.